Watching Disney movies as an adult is a completely different experience. Let's talk about The Little Mermaid. The movie starts with Ariel missing a performance for the entire kingdom with all of her sisters, who I think are Instagram models, no shade. And I feel like at this point they should know that she's a giant flake and not make her the center shell person, but the reason she couldn't make it is because she's basically dumpster diving in this wreck because she is a massive hoarder. So of course they get almost eaten by this giant monstrosity. Her best friends are Flounder, who I don't think is a flounder, and Scuttle, and between the two of them I think they have roughly 4 brain cells. Her dad is King Triton, who looking back was kind of a silver fox king of the entire sea. Despite being in charge of I think every sea creature, he leaves a tiny crab in charge of his daughter's well-being. And honestly, as an adult, of all of the you could choose like a giant squid, a shark. That shark could have been guarding your daughter, presumably. You're the king of the sea. But no, composer crab. Anyway, despite already getting in trouble from her dad for going up to the surface, she does again to this ship, and she falls immediately in love at first sight with Prince Eric, who's received the most narcissistic birthday gift of all time. Also, he's 18, and Grimsby is like, why aren't you married? Which is honestly a problematic storyline in like literally every Disney film, but I digress. And then there is suddenly a surprise hurricane, which somebody explained to me how you get surprised by a hurricane on the open sea, but the ship collapses. And Ariel, in an absolute insane feat of strength, saves Prince Eric. And then somehow with her tiny toothpick arms and a literal fin, she drags a full-grown man onto the beach and engages in whatever this sensual scene is. There are so many scenes as an adult that I was like, And Eric is like concussed. So all he sees is this also sort of erotic, beautiful singing lady. So they are obviously passionately in love after this 2-minute encounter. And then Flounder, in another extreme feat of strength, procures this entire creepy statue of Eric and drags it to her hoarder lair. And let's be honest, this scene is a masterpiece. Part of Your World is iconic. And what comes as no surprise to anybody except King Triton, her tiny weird bodyguard could not stop any of this. And King Triton is pissed. So he sort of psychotically destroys the statue, and he leaves her with the dismembered face of this man that she has been in love with for roughly 1 day. But if he knew anything about teenagers, and he should with all those older sisters, this is the worst possible scenario, because now she, once again, iconically, but daddy, I love him, and her mind is set. And throughout this, she's being stalked by 2 evil eels, which Sebastian apparently never clocked. And they entice her to Ursula's lair, and she hates Triton so bad. And as a kid, I hated Ursula, but as an adult, I'm like, she's an icon. So she sings one catchy song to this dummy. She signs away her entire life and her angelic voice for one chance at Eric, who she really doesn't know at all. He could chew with his mouth open, for all she knows. And we get this scene, which is unnecessarily creepy, honestly. And you know how I know it's creepy? There's like slowed down clips of this scene and like fan art of this scene. Like, no thank you, no thank you. So she wraps herself in a burlap bag and waits for Eric, who obviously arrives, and she can't speak, and he's like, I don't care, you are very beautiful. So he abducts her because she's 16, and then we get this musical number, which is obviously lovely, but this is not how kissing is supposed to work. I remember thinking this was so romantic, but what is romantic about 700 sea creatures begging a man to kiss you? And also during this debacle, Sebastian is fighting for his literal life because Eric has a psychotic chef. And now looking back, I'm like, so if you're an ocean creature, you're Sebastian. Is this just all mass murder? His ancestors, his friends, dead. And this guy's chasing him around. And we're like, LOL. And then in a shocking turn of events, Ariel finds out from none other than this idiot that Eric has completely ghosted her for this other beautiful lady, but this one can speak. And she has Ariel's voice, and he's convinced that she is the lady who sang to him, which is apparently all he is looking for in marriage. And it's none other than Ursula, which I feel like there's a case for like breach of contract here, because is this allowed? And they're getting married on the ship for some reason, which is weird. And also Eric's a zombie. And then the entire ocean, it seems like, comes to Ariel's aid and attacks her to get her little shell thing back, which, where was this energy when she was getting attacked by a shark? Where was this energy when Ursula was tricking her, when she was being stalked by eels? Like, none of you were around then? So Ariel gets her voice back. She just says to Eric, I was the one singing. He's instantly in love with her instead of the other lady he thought he was in love with. Problem solved, right? Wrong. Ursula bursts forth from her beautiful wedding dress into her octopus form. Unfortunately, they do not kiss before the sun sets. So the entire thing, null and void. None of this mattered. So Ursula, she turns back into a mermaid. Ursula grabs her, abducts her, and jumps back into the sea. And per their contract, she gets to turn Ariel into one of her weird, creepy worm prisoners. But Triton comes to try and save her and takes her place. And then Triton becomes a creepy worm with a mustache. And she tries to use King Triton's trident to kill Eric, but Ariel pulls her hair and she accidentally kills her pet eels, Flotsam and Jetsam, and she goes berserk. And Ursula turns into a giant monster queen, and she's like trying to kill them anyway. So I don't know why Triton even did that, because now he can't protect her because he's a creepy worm. So she has the big Triton and they have to run away from her, and she makes like a cyclone and all the ships come up from the bottom, which is very weird. And so Eric, who is suddenly a genius, even though he could not tell two women apart like an hour ago, gets on one of these ships to try to kill Ursula. Eric murders her to death with this ship, and when she dies, all the creepy wormy people, including King Triton, come back. And then Ariel has continuing body dysmorphia and she wants to be a human, and Triton, rather than sending her to therapy, just gives her legs. Also, the scene, creepy, but this one she is thankfully not nude. And then they immediately get married even though they don't know each other at all. And Sebastian and Triton have depression because those were bad choices.